And we need excuses. Have you heard the stuff Pat Buchanan's been saying? Come on, at least let us have lead poisoning. Of course, people who have been black for more than a week have their own concerns.
Lester Spence is a political science professor at Johns Hopkins University.
I am very disappointed in his speech.
He believes the president's message was condescending.
What I see is a trend by which he speaks to black populations with a tough love message that's not really applicable.
Especially since his tough love message to the banking and auto industries took the form of shooting money at them from a t-shirt cannon.
Okay, so you get the gist of it, and I'm running out of time here, but basically there's, I've got a bunch of clips that you can look at if you so desire of the news from the Colbert Report. So that's the next slide. And then one of the things I ask you to ponder is how is all this doubled? And so what are the critical points Colbert is trying to offer, and doubled again being that it's parody, right? He's not him per se. He's a character, so he's doing two things at the same time in a sense. He is critiquing by performing, and then basically he talks about Jones talks about the whole word segment. If you've never seen The Word. And Jones says, in a sense, this is another way that this whole thing is doubled. And he talks about how he borrowed this style from Bill O'Reilly, but instead of using the bullet points that Bill O'Reilly does, Colbert uses subversive messages. And again, I won't read you stuff, but you know, I think I do have time for this little clip right here, which is pretty interesting. But it just shows you again how the double voice thing works here, how the parody of the Colbert Report works.
There are more reasons than ever why now is the best time to be on Verizon.
That's
One, Verizon's the largest, most reliable 4G LTE network in the country. That's right, America.
Also trying to clean.
With XLTE in over 400 markets. Two, and here's something for families to get excited about.
Have you memorized this commercial yet?
Double the data on select plans. And three, you can now get our best ever single line pricing
Blah,
starting
blah,
at $45.
blah, blah.
So get all this now on the network ranked #1 for data performance nationwide. Verizon.
Gotcha.
Nation, thank you very much. Thank you. Nation, the president's recent decision to release the torture memos was a huge mistake. Terrorists can now prepare themselves for our interrogation techniques. Now that they know that we'll slam them against a wall, they'll recruit someone who can withstand wall slamming. Next time, instead of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, we'll face Kool-Aid Sheikh Mohammed. Oh, yeah. Of course, terrifying. Of course, the big question is, how will we treat prisoners in the future? And not the guys at Gitmo. I'm talking about the prisoners of public opinion, like Dick Cheney, Condi Rice, John Yoo, Stephen Bradbury, and Judge Jay Bybee. These people can't go out in public without facing relentless interrogation. Take Condi Rice, who was forced to respond to students at Stanford with this defense of waterboarding.
By definition, if it was authorized by the president, it did not violate our obligations under the Convention Against Torture.
She, of course, was quoting the landmark position of Frost v. Nixon.
When the president does it, that means that it is not illegal.
Which raises the philosophical question, if a president passed a law requiring him to break that law, could he do it? Or did I just blow your mind? Nation, if we don't resolve this issue, these patriots' reputations could be damaged forever. Which brings us to tonight's word. Captain Kangaroo Court. Folks, there is only one way to clear the names of these individuals. A torture trial. Now, a lot of my colleagues in punditry
Notice
think
he's
torture
subverting
trials
what he's
will never
saying
be fair.
with
Edward
these.
R. Zombie explains.
I predict, Mara, based on what you're saying, that any prosecutions that come out of this will be a total farce. There'll be a series of grand inquisitions.
And grand inquisitions should only be used for rooting out communists and or consensual Hummers. But still, I think you're clapping for the Hummer. But still employed Bill Kristol sees this crisis as an opportunity.
I think now that the door's open, I say bring it on. Let's have a big national debate on this. Let's have Steve Bradbury confront his accusers, who are 1/10 the lawyers he is.
Yes, we must finally get the answer to the most troubling question of the entire torture scandal. Who's the best lawyer? So, I, folks, am all for a trial, but it has got to be the right kind of trial. And you know, I heard some news this past weekend that gave me an idea. On Sunday, Condi Rice visited an elementary school where she was asked about enhanced interrogation policies by a 4th grade boy. Of course, Secretary Rice responded.
President Bush was very clear that he wanted to do everything that he could to protect the country. But he was also very clear that we would do nothing that was against the law.
And by the law of double negatives, nothing means everything. Well, this kid, folks, I'm telling you, this little kid gave me a great idea. Our torture trials should be conducted by children. You see, kids have no political agenda. And they ask great questions like, do dogs go to heaven? And when is it appropriate to abandon the values of our country in order to save our country? Plus, kids will accept because I told you so as a legitimate answer. So, let's have Rice, Cheney, and everyone else explain the nuance of their rationale to a jury of children. For example, kids, Mr. Bunny was a bad bunny, and he had information that President Raccoon needed. So the president got his lawyer squirrels to write a magic letter, which made everything he did perfectly legal. Then Mr. Bunny was strapped to an inclined bench with a blankie over his nose and mouth, and Willie the Whale squirted water into his face so that Mr. Bunny thought he was drowning. But remember, President Raccoon had a magic letter, so it was not a violation of Common Article 3 of the Geneva Conventions. Then he married a princess. The end. So, I say, let the children decide whether these men and women should finally be free from a life sentence of relentless accusations about their character and actions. After all, remember, children are the future. And if we explain torture to them right, it will be a future where torture isn't wrong. And that's the word. We'll be right back.
Oh, that's brilliant. So, long story short, I say what's going on here. You can see sort of how he's subverting the whole thing. There's another thing of the word, and then there's also an example of the interviews that he does, and how he does the sort of the mock interviews that are, again, making fun of parodying the whole idea of the pundit. And the sort of the big picture, the politics of parody. So basically, same big picture as the stuff on Jon Stewart. Basically, what Jones argues is both through satire, what Jon Stewart is doing, and through this parody, it offers us sort of a critical lens that the regular mainstream news simply does not offer us. And some folks have actually talked about a parodic lens, a parodic way of seeing things. That when you can sort of see things in this doubled way, it's deeper, it's more critical, and it questions things where, or at least it invites us to question things. Where the CNN and MSNBC and Fox, I mean, they don't really invite us to question in the same sort of in-depth critical way. So long story short, and I got to go work out, Jones's argument, and I would completely agree with him, if you want to really get the news, the real news, and learn things that you would not get on CNN or other news